I believe every single household, everyone should have a Cellerciser in their home. And that's because of this reason. The environment and conditions that we live in today, the dead processed foods that so many of us eat on a day-to-day basis, the body can become more acidic. As the body becomes more acidic, especially in the morning when we wake up and we can see underneath a microscopy, we can take a look at our blood cells, and often our blood cells become sticky. They're not circulating as well. When the blood cells become sticky, they lose circulation. They actually can, instead of being round and imbibed with fluid, they can become more elongated and in a weaker state. They don't have as much access to oxygen nutrients. As they get sticky, it's harder for the heart to pump sticky blood cells to the capillaries, to the extremities, to the brain, to the blood vessels of the eye, and other areas of the body. What's interesting, and we've seen this numerous times, is when we get on a Cellerciser and we start to move up and down, we are weightless at the top of the balance, and then we apply weight. Well, that G-force, or those weight-bearing activities, that is also being applied to the blood cells. What's unique about the blood cells is that they all have a sodium-potassium pump. They're positively, negatively charged, just like a battery. As we move up and down, the blood cells expand and contract, and they can create a field. They do, we've seen it. They create a field of energy around the outside of this cell membrane. We see it under something that's called Kirlian photography. And as those blood cells develop that field of energy, because they're constantly expanding and contracting, the movement up and down on the Cellerciser is causing that, but it's also feeding more oxygen and nutrients and fluid into the cell membrane. So we've looked at the cells 3 to 5 minutes after a person has been on a Cellerciser and their cells are flexing over 100 times a minute. In those 5 minutes, the blood cells generate a field of energy around the outside, and they're fed with more fluid. They become imbibed with more fluid. So instead of being elongated, they become round, and they become oxygenated and energized. And you see that energy field. It separates them from each other. So instead of being sticky, they're now separated. The movement up and down on the Cellerciser helps to move those individual blood cells through the one-way valves, through the capillaries, to the brain, to the blood vessels of our eye, to other extremities of the body,